So in this video, I want to show you the flowchart that we have for the Dagesh, how to determine whether a Dagesh is strong or weak. And just like with the Shiva video, we've got a little bit of a shortcut that is really going to be the primary rule you need to remember, and that is this outlined rule right here. Is the sound before the Dagesh letter consonantal or vocalic? Is the sound before the Dagesh letter coming from a consonant or from a vowel? Okay, so if we follow the flowchart, if we go all the way through it, we'll start up here. Is the Dagesh in a Begad Kafat letter? Is it in a Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Kaf, Pei, or Tav? If it's not in one of these letters, right away you know it's strong, because a weak Dagesh cannot appear in a non-Begad Kafat letter. All right. So if it is not in one of these letters, you know it's strong. If it is, then we ask, is the Dagesh in the first or last letter of a word? If it's in the first letter or the last letter, it's going to be weak. Okay? So that will answer our question right there. If it's in a Begad Kafat letter, and that letter is either the first letter of the word or the last letter of the word, then it's going to be a weak Dagesh. What if it's in a Begad Kufat letter, but that letter is not the first or last letter of the word? Well, then we have to rely on this final rule. Is the sound before the Dagesh letter a consonant or a vowel? All right. If it's a vowel, if the sound before the Dagesh letter is a vowel sound, then that's going to be a strong Dagesh. If the sound before the Dagesh letter is a consonant sound, that is to say, it's basically preceded by a silent Shiva, I guess. If the sound before the Dagesh letter is made by a consonant and not a vowel, then that Dagesh letter will be weak. All right, so let's apply this rule of Dagesh to some examples here. We're looking now at section B in Fatato on lesson number 3, and we're looking at number 1 here, mid-bar, mid-bar. Now what you'll soon realize is that in order to determine whether a Dagesh is strong or weak, you kind of have to already know how to determine whether a Shiva is vocal or silent. All right, so if we look at this, and we ask ourselves the shortcut rule for the Dagesh, is the Dagesh letter preceded immediately by a vowel sound or by a consonant sound? And one of the ways we can figure that out is we can kind of write out this word in English letters. Now I know that you haven't learned transliteration as part of this course, but without even learning transliteration, you can kind of figure this out. The mem obviously is going to make an M sound, and then the hirik would be the I, and then the dalet there would be the D. And then the Shiva, we have to figure out, okay, what sound does the Shiva make? Well, it depends. Is this a vocal Shiva or a silent Shiva? If it's vocal, then the Dagesh letter would be preceded by a vowel sound. But if it's silent, we wouldn't write it out at all. It's silent. That is different from the Aleph and the Ayin, which are quote unquote silent, but we still write those out. But the point here is whether this Shiva is vocal or silent determines whether this Dagesh letter is preceded by a vowel sound or a consonantal sound. Because if this Shiva is silent, then the sound preceding the Dagesh letter would be the sound of the Dalet. All right? So, is the Shiva vocal or silent? Well, let's use our short is silent rule. Is the Shiva immediately preceded by a short vowel? Yes, it's preceded by the short hirik, so this is silent, which means it has no vowel value. All right, so we have no vowel sound here, which means the bait, the B sound, is immediately preceded by the D sound. There is no vowel here. The silent Shiva does not count as a vowel. And so in that sense, we have mid-bar. Because the Dagesh letter is immediately preceded by a consonant sound, the Dagesh is weak. If the Dagesh letter were immediately preceded by a vowel sound, the Dagesh would be strong. One way to kind of remember, okay, which Dagesh goes with the consonant sound and which Dagesh goes with the vowel sound. One way to remember that is that a strong Dagesh needs a lot of vowel to kind of, think of it like a strong guy at the gym. He's going to need more weights to build muscle. And so this strong Dagesh is going to need to be surrounded by more vowels to kind of work it out. The weak Dagesh, it doesn't need a second vowel. It doesn't need a vowel before it and after it. It's weak. It can only handle one at a time. The strong Dagesh can handle a vowel in front of it and behind it. It can handle two vowels because it's strong. But the weak Dagesh can only carry one vowel. So that's why it has to be preceded by a consonantal sound, not a vowel sound. I don't know if that's a helpful way to remember it or not, but you do need to get that association down. If the Dagesh is preceded by a vowel sound, it's strong. If it's preceded by a consonant sound, it is weak. All right, so let's apply that further here. Number 2, is the Dagesh letter immediately preceded by a vowel sound, or is it immediately preceded by a consonantal sound? Now this one might get a little tricky for you because in the Shiva video, we looked at what the doubling Dagesh does, but we don't yet know if this is a doubling Dagesh. So we just have to kind of take what we've got. Remember, we're asking if the Dagesh letter itself is this letter, this dalet here, preceded by a vowel sound or by a consonantal sound. Because the hirik has value, it does count as a vowel. There is a vowel between the dalet and the word that precedes it, or I'm sorry, the letter that precedes it. So if we wrote this out, we would have kid, but again, because it has a vowel before it and after it, that must mean it's strong. It has to be strong in order to kind of handle both vowels. So we're going to double it, and then we get kid dash. Kid dash, 2 syllables here. All right. So if the vowel letter, we're not just talking about the second dalet, the double dalet. We're talking about this letter itself, which has the Dagesh. We don't know if it's doubling it or not. If this has a vowel before it and after it, it's strong. If it only has a vowel after it, like its own vowel, it's not holding 2 vowels, then it's weak. All right, so number 3, we've got Isha here. All right, is the Dagesh letter, the shin, is the shin immediately preceded by a vowel sound or a consonant sound? Now, this is not a trick question. We don't mean that the aleph doesn't count as a consonant sound. It does. It does count as a consonant. The question really is, does the Dagesh letter have an intervening vowel between it and its preceding letter? And it does. It has the hirik. Now, it doesn't really matter whether this vowel, according to the rule, it doesn't really matter whether this vowel is short or not, but you will find that usually the vowel that precedes the Dagesh forte, the doubling Dagesh, the strong Dagesh, usually you will find that the vowel that precedes is short. But that's not part of the rule, so, if you find a long vowel for some reason before the Dagesh, don't assume that means that the rule doesn't apply. The rule is just if you have any vowel intervening between the Dagesh letter and the letter preceding it, then it's strong. If over here you have a Dagesh and the vowel preceding it has value, that is to say there is an intervening vowel between the preceding letter and the Dagesh letter, making it strong. But here, we would only have that if this were a vocal shava. So we have to find out, is this a vocal shava? Well, we have to find out if the immediately preceding vowel is short. So do we have a short vowel here? Yes, hirik. Therefore, short is silent. This shava is silent. So there is no intervening vowel between the zayin and the bait. All right, that means with no intervening vowel, this must be weak. It's not strong enough to handle two vowels. And so that's why it only has one. All right, let's do one more here, number 5. Mish te. Mish te. Again, this comes down to the shava. Is the shava vocal or silent? It's silent because it's preceded by a short vowel. Therefore, there is no vowel here. So this letter, the Dagesh letter, is immediately preceded by the consonant sound of the shin. That makes it weak. All right, so hopefully that's helpful for you. I know that the Dagesh and the shava are really, really tricky to get your head around initially. But if you just hold on to those two primary rules, for the shava, the short is silent rule. If the shava is immediately preceded by a short vowel, it is silent. If that does not apply, whether it's because it's the first letter, the shava is in the first letter of the word, or whatever the reason, if you cannot answer yes to the question, is the shava immediately preceded by a short vowel, then that shava is vocal. If you can answer yes, it's silent. If you can't answer yes, it's vocal. Same with the Dagesh. Is the Dagesh letter preceded by a vowel sound or by a consonant sound? Here we've got a vowel sound, so it's strong. Here we've got no vowel sound, so it's the consonant sound, therefore it's weak. Really hammer those two rules and try to apply it to all your exercises and see whether it gives you the right answers or not. I think if you really stick with those two rules, you're going to be okay.